good, Crocodile? What's good, Zombie? What's good, Rudart? What's good, Stash? Are we ready for another day of game industry bullcrap? Yeah, what's going on today? I'm just churning on the YouTube stream here as well. All right, got everything on. Everything's good. Perfect. All right, so GTA 6 leaks, crazy. Sony's lawsuit situation, insane. We got a lot going on. And we're going to continue our solo flawless attempts of Vespers as well. So be prepared. Be prepared. What are the top 10 most insane gaming news stories of the last week? All right. Back at it again, dude. August 20th. It's crazy. The leaks are insane, dude. Whole game just on the internet. Probably soon, really? Damn. I haven't kept up too much with the leaks. I saw a little bit. The problem is there's a lot of people baiting with like fake leaks and stuff, and they keep trolling me. So I need to find like the legitimate leak videos and sources and stuff. What's good, Art Gabriel? Thank you for the 10 jewels on YouTube with the floating heart. You're too kind. You're too kind. Stash My Ash says it's hilarious that people are passing off Watch Dogs 2 gameplay as GTA 6. Are they really? Dude, I'm not gonna lie. I have fallen for some bait. I was on Twitter. I was like, oh, let's watch this. Someone's like 15 minutes of GTA 6 leaks. And I'm watching it. And then suddenly I'm getting like Rick rolled for like 14 and a half minutes. I'm like, man, did I really fall for this bait? Damn it. They got me. They got my ass, dude. Fucking baited me good. The leaks are just too good. The fake stuff is too good these days. It's too good. The AI, it got me. The IA. The IA. It's too strong. All right, while I'm still fresh, while I'm still caffeinated, while I still have some brain cells left, I need to finish this solo flawless challenge. And I have to do the worst one of all, which is Vespers. It is funny, but here's the video of the dude flying the plane in GTA 6 and writing his name on the wall at the end of it. Oh, really? It won't let you put links in the chat, so I'll whisper you, Crocodile. Crocodile. Let's do here. I'll say send here. If you want to send me something, you can whisper it to me there. And then it should hopefully pop up. McKinney Sands here. Captain Carrot, what's good? How you doing, you sexy devil? Carrot? Goddamn. I seen that too, yeah. The GTA 6 leaks. I can't show them on stream because I'll probably get sued into oblivion and DMCA'd off the internet. You'll never see me again. Until Unlucky 20p comes back. Stash Mash says, don't know if it's safe to broadcast though. Might get a copyright. Exactly. Exactly. What's good, Ant? Ant is here. Ant, did you message your where I have to send you that replica, right? Do I have I do have your address. Perfect. Okay, good. Yeah, I'll send you that. And then what did you say? What did you wanted to pay for the shipping? What is the game plan with this, Ant? What's the stratagem here? You want the replica, but you're gonna pay for the shipping? What's the deal? I'm in need of a friend to help me with my dungeon runs. Art Gabriel, I got just the guy for you, okay? Crocodile in chat, that guy's gonna help you. Right, Croc? I know you didn't sign up for this, but now you're helping Art Gabriel for the rest of the day. It ain't much, but it's honest work, Croc. It's good, Walder Rabbit. Y'all pay for the shipping? How do you want to do that? How do you want to pay for the shipping, I guess? Should I just do like gift 5 subs and then I'll ship it to you or something? Like, what do you want to do? If you gift 5 subs, I'll ship it to you if that's a fair deal to you. If that's not a fair deal, then we come up with something else. Did you do the raffle? We did not do a raffle. I went to GCX and I brought one of these with me. I brought one of these bad boys with me. And I decided to give it to whoever was the coolest person I met. And that definitely wasn't Crocodile, so Croc did not win. But Ant in the chat, Ant did win. So I decided to give it to him. All right. That's awesome, yeah. Bro, at least you gave me a Coke. I did give Croc a Coke. I gave Croc a free Coke as an apology for not playing raids with him after he hard carried, actually. If I'm being honest, he hard carried in Brood of Nightmares. I appreciate that, Croc. We couldn't have done it without you, bud. You were a little bit of a crackhead. I think you had a little too much caffeine that day. But aside from that, that was a goated performance. Here we go. All right. I carried you in that mood raid for real? Captain Carrot, what? What are you talking about? Solo Flawless, the hardest dungeon in Destiny 2, Vesper's House. This one is actually evil. The lightning, just everything. Everything about this one. The Shanks, the Exploder Shanks, they overtuned this one. You know what I want to see? Real justice is watching Bungie devs have to solo flawless this. In fact, you shouldn't be able to leave the studio until after you've solo flawlessed it. I want to watch the live stream of them all lining up. You can't even clock out for the day until you solo flawless this, alright? You ain't telling me that all the Bungie devs solo flawless this. Ain't no way. I bet half of them are not solo flawless in this bad boy. This shit's tough as hell. Do you go to any other conventions? Currently, I do not. I prefer to just stay in my house. It's nice and comfortable and well air conditioned in here. And I have lots of snacks, so I stay here. What are some other good conventions to go to, though? Like, what are some recommendations, Art Gabriel? You still have the trusty whiteboard? I had to get rid of my entire whiteboard collection. I had too much whiteboards. Right. Mid-top. Mid-low. Left. Is that just all of them? We're just shooting all of them today? Oh, we're not shooting that one? Oh. Yeah, I got rid of all the whiteboards. The whiteboards were taking up too much space, so I had to get rid of them all. Now I just use the phone notes. Little note app on your phone, you know? Where the hell did the red guy go? Yo, new expert lost sector available? Hold up. Let me just forego all of my solo flawless ambitions in an instant for this. Bruh, red buff. I think the red buff fell through the ground, dude. I think I'm cooked. Oh, there he is. Boom. Boom. You had so many. I remember showing a camera show the different collection. Yeah, I had a lot of them. The whiteboards helped me organize my thoughts. But now, there is no organization. It's just pure chaos. A million random ideas and memes and jokes and TikToks all happening at once. Alright, we're putting on... I guess I did this, and then I just put on sleeper, and that's it, I guess. Sure. Alright, here goes something. This first part is, like, kind of free, now that I know what I'm doing. God, it takes forever to kill that guy. I should have shoot him with sleeper next time. It's 84 years later. This is the world's first Folos Lawless right here. On this day. We got a 1, we got a 2, we got a 3. No 4. 5. 1, 2, 3, 5. One, 2, 3, 5. Pick it up. huge. Submachine gun is Yurtide Apex, yeah. My entire build is structured around using this SMG. It like gives you my super back really fast if you look at the super bar. I thought those were exploder shanks and that freaked me out. Like look at my super bar right here. Like what? That's crazy, right? That's the whole build. Six, no. 5, yes. 5, 4, 3, 2. Alright. So we got 2, 3, 4, and 5. It'd be crazy. This gun that heals you is really good. Like, imagine if there was a gun that gave you restoration, though. Is that even a thing, or am I drunk? Like, this gun is good, because it's got that damn heal perk on it, right? But imagine if a gun gave you restoration. That'd be even better. Ugh. You die, you stupid shank. Oh my god, you're actually so fucking obnoxious. How many hammers do I have to throw? Really, bro? I threw like 7 hammers down here. Heal clip? Yeah, heal clip heals you, but it doesn't give you restoration. It just heals you, right? It's like an instantaneous heal. Restoration continuously heals you. And then it ties into the build, you know? They probably could have made an exotic that did that. That would actually be fucking nasty good. Can you imagine an exotic that gives you restoration? Like an exotic primary, I think. That's what I'm thinking of. Oops, I'm dumb. One. Three, 4, 6. 1, 3, 4, 6. fuck is going on with my gun? Nice. I think it'd be cool because I'm realizing as I'm using this build, I'm like, heal clip is awesome. Don't get me wrong, and it's actually kind of OP, right? But what's really OP here, more than anything, is restoration and the continuous refreshing of restoration. So any sort of weapon that would just like grant that with very little effort would be kind of nasty. Chat commands don't work because your Bungie name changed? Rip. That means I control people and say that the SMG I'm using is fucking... This is Wormwood, dude. It's perfect, actually. I like how there's just invisible dregs here. And that's just like... that's just how the game is now. Fuck it. Invisible dregs. Where'd that captain go? The captain on... You on break? What the hell? Did you get fucking laid off too, bud? You wanna maybe, I don't know, do your job? You know? There's a guardian down here causing a ruckus. Probably want to do something about that. Open. Hey. 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 Can you, like, go somewhere else? You're kind of an asshole. What do you mean? Where's the damn captain at? Oh. Oh yeah. Let's do this. Right now, let's do this. Get this. Give me that. Take this. Now I've got 2. I don't have the charge though. What the hell? What Where is the captain at? He's supposed to like spawn in here or something. Hey. Dude! Do your job, bro. What? You're around the corner just fucking around. Playing with your freaking fallen ding dong, dude. He's out here double swording it. Do your fucking job, bro. Oh fuck, I missed the hammer. Yes. Ugh. I'm out of here. Time to put on the sword. I love the tracking on the baby hammer. Dude, I will throw a baby hammer into a crowd of like 17 dregs and somehow miraculously thread the needle in between their like between their arm and their armpit and then underneath their legs, and then it'll bounce on the ground 3 times and evade every single one of their toes. I'm like, okay. This thing has like reverse bullet magnetism. Something about this fucking thing, dude, I swear. Yeah. I think I don't hate that that's the way it is in some ways, though, because it's meant to be a trade-off, you know? Because if you think about it, the hammer is kind of OP where you just throw it infinitely, so. There is supposed to be some, I guess, skill or trade-off. I guess that's what it is. It just drives you crazy. Let's do this thing. Let's go. What am I doing? That's not what I want to do at all. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Numbers are 5 and 7. 7 and 5. 5 and 7. Five and 7. 5 and 7 and 3 and 4. 5, 7, 3, 4. Oh, I almost shot that. That was really bad. Eight, 3. H3 and 6, 4. 8, 3, 6, 4. 8, 3, 6, 4. 1, 6. One, 6. It's 3, 9. 1, 6, 3, 9. One, 9, 6. All right. Going flawless. We're trying. We're trying. God damn. These motherfuckers be hitting hard. Son of a bitch. Almost died to these guys. Such an awkward angle of shooting them. Fuck you. Can't be dying to this. Bruh. Normally I have on my solar class and I throw like a healing nade down, but I noticed that I was on the behemoth, so I was a little like out of my element, I guess, if that makes sense. How do you... Alright. I'm gonna go back to my actual loadout. Because this does not make any sense. Let's go here. I guess I'll just go here. Fuck my ammo. Fuck it. Right. And this is the loadout. Good afternoon. What's good, Knight Rider? We're going solo flawless, and we made it all the way to the boss by some miracle. Unfortunately, for this dungeon, the boss is the hardest part, so making it to the boss means nothing. Well, not nothing, but little. Threes it is. Shoot the threes. I didn't have to deposit that, I forgot. I didn't have to deposit that, I could have just picked it up and ran in there, but the Radiant guys were around me. So, it's whatever. Oh, I lost my hammer? It's kind of unfortunate. Oh. Oh, fuck. Really, bro? Twos. Shoot the twos. I banked that in the wrong one. I have a certain order that I do it in. Shoot the twos. All right, so far so good. No! I was throwing the fucking nade at my feet too. No. Ah, God. I'm gonna be here forever, dude. This is my hell. Damn it, dude. I was looking down at my feet to throw it as well. I knew going into that, when I was sniping the boss, I was like, I should snipe the shiny guy. I was like, I should snipe the freaking shiny guy. Yeah, if you want to. Jason Schreier leaks about Bungie. Yeah, you can have the checkpoint. It was going really good. I knew I should have sniped the shiny guy, though, instead of sniping the boss. I knew it. I was sitting there thinking to myself, shoot the shiny guy right now. I could have also thrown my healing nade beforehand, I think. I think that could have helped. Cover the Jason Schreier leaks. Let's see here. What's this? Which one specifically? Was it PlayStation's live service initiative could not have gone worse? Dude, that sucks. Man. I knew I should have sniped that guy. I had a feeling. I was like, man, there's going to be a bunch of lightning. Everything is going pretty well. There's a lot of articles about it. Well, what is it then? Like, send it to me. What is this? It's not. Which video is it? Which thing? Because the last video I have is PlayStation's live service initiative could not have gone worse. That's the last video he posted a day ago. And then Destiny Bulletin wrote an article about it that we already read specifically. So I'm not sure if it's about that or if it's something else or if it's like a Bloomberg article. Nuke would be a 30-second window once it drops? Probably. Yep. Good. All right. No need for salt. I'm not the dungeon boss, but it means it's already covered. It is already covered. I said no because the article link got you. Yeah, no worries. I'm just I'm not even mean to be salty about it. I just, if someone says anything in chat like cover this thing, I'm like, okay, what's the thing? It's like, just if I get that direct link, I will click on the link. But if I have to go search for it, it's like sometimes I swear I'll search into the damn abyss void of, because even Destiny, I think even Destiny Bulletin didn't like reference the video directly or something. I'm not sure what they said, but they like quoted a part of the video, and even that video is not directly about Bungie, right? And so it's good though. Like I want to watch that video. I'm gonna watch that video probably in a minute. Just wanted to make sure that that was the exact correct one to watch, because that one, just to clarify, if that's leaks, he titled the video PlayStation's live service initiative could not have gone worse. So I don't know if that's categorically leaks, or at least he's not saying it's leaks in the title, but it might have. Yep, exactly. Yeah, so that's just the key I was kind of curious about is, and not necessarily from this topic, but it's just I'm curious about, is this the leaks, right? Because I guess maybe he doesn't title his video leaks, but maybe he is leaking stuff. But the video is Jason Schreier's opinion of PlayStation's live service initiative and how it could not have gone worse. So basically, he's just talking about how Sony has just crashed and burned with everything, even with the recent freaking Horizon game that's about to come out. This is a good one to watch, though. I'll definitely watch this one and a few other things as well. Pull this up real quick. Maybe I should do, I'll probably go into Vespers, and I'll probably fight the boss a little bit more, just as to like fine tune some of those details. Schreier looks like such a creep. Schreier definitely, he do not be taking care of his physical appearance much. Schreier be looking like what I would consider is a Reddit moderator. No offense to Reddit moderators in here, but he's got that aura, right? He's got that Reddit moderator aura of him. And I'm not sure why, he's going that vibe, but that's the energy I get from his appearance, at least, and not everyone, matches that appearance. Like, he's actually seems to be a pretty articulate, guy. So I'll give him credit there. All right, let's pull this up. So the topic is Horizon Hunters Gathering. His personality screams to me, sniveling weasel, can't trust the guy. He's an interesting mixture of a person, right? So he does leaks and stuff, but he tries to keep a high degree of credibility. So he's not trying to just do like drama farming or, rage bait. Dude, what happened to Gabe Newell? Gabe Newell lost a ton of weight. Dude, Gabe Newell got on that Ozempic. Dude, this is Gabe Newell now? There's no way. God damn. Gabe Newell lost so much weight. Holy shit. This is incredible. The effects of the divorce. Did he get divorced? Really? Oh man, that's sad. Great. He looks like a different person. That's a crazy change for sure. All right. right. I wanted to find that Horizon Hunters Gathering news here. Where was that? I guess that would have been a day. Oh, here it is. This is crazy. So they're taking this game, this disaster of a game, and they're turning it into a box product game. What's good, one and only? Thank you for the sub. Appreciate that. Guerrilla Games is rebooting Horizon Hunters Gathering after negative feedback from private playtests. More traditional co-op game mode, story mode. Dude, this thing's crazy. I'm gonna pull this up real fast. It's pretty crazy gaming news, that's for sure. I can't. I can't. The internet is so unserious. All right. Here we go. Here we go. Schreier wrote a book based on lies. The guy is scum. Which book was that? Was it talking about the Activision Blizzard stuff? The Play Nice book? Let me see here. What is the recent controversy with Jason Schreier's Play Nice book? Did he lie, or is there deception in that or something? Critics are arguing that Schreier presented the 2021 Blizzard scandal in a misleading or incomplete way, particularly by failing to adequately incorporate what happened with the California lawsuit afterwards. What kicked this off? In 2021, California's Department of Fair Employment and Housing sued Activision Blizzard, alleging widespread discrimination and sexual harassment. Schreier was one of the prominent journalists reporting on the allegations, including his Bloomberg reporting on conditions at Blizzard. The California case was subsequently settled for $54 million in December 2023 with an admission of wrongdoing. More importantly, for the current controversy, the settlement documents contain language indicating that the state's investigation had not established that widespread sexual harassment had occurred at the company in the way original complaint suggested. Schreier later characterized the California complaint as having been sloppy and misleading and said it contained inaccuracies. That's where things get interesting. The criticism of Play Nice was published in October 2024, almost a year after that settlement. Critics are now pointing out that the book apparently doesn't clearly explain the final resolution of the California lawsuit, despite Schreier knowing about it by publication. That's not merely speculation. Schreier discussed the settlement publicly on the day the book came out, saying the case had settled for $55 million and the lawsuit had its own share of problems. And this is important. Play Nice does contain correction/context surrounding parts of the 2021 narrative. For example, Schreier provides additional context about the infamous Cosby suite story and explains that some of the way that incident was subsequently portrayed was misleading. So the criticism isn't simply Schreier made everything up, it's closer to you reported the allegations extensively, then wrote an entire history of Blizzard, but didn't give readers an equally prominent account of how the government's case ultimately turned out. That's a much more defensible criticism. Did Schreier actually lie? Yeah, he didn't actually lie or fabricate anything. It's an important distinction. There are 3 different claims being mixed together online. 1 is the Blizzard scandal was completely fabricated. 2, some of the 2020 reporting and government allegations were inaccurate or misleading. And 3, Schreier's presentation of the scandal in Play Nice is incomplete/selective and therefore misleading. This is the serious criticism that deserves examination. Yeah, the strongest piece of evidence for number 3 is that the settlement happened in 2023. Play Nice came out in 2024, and yet the book apparently doesn't give the lawsuit's resolution the treatment you would expect given how central the scandal is to the book. Interesting. Very interesting that choice. Oh boy, Schreier's got himself in deep, huh? Former Blizzard producer Mark Kern, for example, has accused Schreier of lying and exaggerating, but that's Mark Kern's allegations, not an independently established fact. And some of the loudest current criticism comes from highly partisan sources. For example, Wolfshed Online has made an extensive case that Play Nice selectively constructs the history of Blizzard. That material is worth examining for specific factual claims, but I wouldn't treat the author's conclusions about Schreier's motives as established facts. The really interesting question. Very interesting. Pretty crazy. He has an entire video on it. Yeah, we'll have to watch that. It seems like from this breakdown, at least, that, he represented the situation from what he felt was the most accurate situation, and there might be some differentiation between that and what the court ruling came out to be. But, it's not like he blatantly lied or that it's like night and day difference in terms of the allegations necessarily. But it's still pretty wild. Still pretty crazy. There is a new Concordian game coming out soon, and it's already in trouble. We're talking about Horizon Hunters Gathering, and it's being rebooted right now after the negative playtest feedback. And they're going to actually remove the live service component from this game. I don't know if that's going to save it. I feel like the goal should probably be to just delete the game altogether. But yeah, this is the Concordian timeline. Just such an absurd meme that has, Concord 4. Yeah. So you've got Concord 1, the original, right? The catalyst that set this all into motion. Highguard, which is Concord 2. And then Marathon, which of course is Concord 3. And then now you have Horizon Hunters Gathering, which is Concord 4. Incredible. The last installment of the Concordian timeline is upon us. This news is broken to us from Jason Schreier, so let's see what he had to say.
Hello, One Take Schreier here. I really like the term live service initiative, Sony's live service initiative, because it makes me think of the Avengers, except instead of Nick Fury going around and recruiting superheroes to team up and fight a great evil, it is Sony executives going around recruiting studios to burn through hundreds of millions of dollars in years of their lives. This morning, I reported on Bloomberg.com that Guerrilla Games, the Amsterdam based studio responsible for franchises like Killzone and Horizon, has rebooted Horizon Hunters Gathering, the online live service game that was released earlier this year.
Don't reboot it. Pull the plug, dude. This is like a reminder of Marathon all over again. This is like Marathon 2 in some ways, right? So everyone's been seeing the downfall of Marathon and how it's such a waste of money right now, especially when Bungie has, at least in the past, has had the talent to create games that are iconic with Halo and Destiny and so on and so forth, right? Instead, they're wasting all their whatever talent is left there and time and money and energy on this Marathon project. Same thing for this, man. It's just such a waste. It's just so over and done with. I don't see why they should invest any more effort into this thing. It's cooked. If you ever launch a project and it's just like 99% downvotes on YouTube, usually you don't come back from that.
And their plan, their kind of tentative plan, is to scope it down, to move a bunch of people off of it, to remove the live service elements and turn it into more of a traditional co-op game. They have until the end of the year to kind of figure this out, and then there will be milestones and reviews, and we'll see if it actually ever gets off the ground or if it is quietly canceled. This happened because of negative playtest feedback. The game had been getting playtests throughout this year. There was one, I believe, in February, another one in May, and in June they looked at the scores and they said, this isn't working, we need to figure things out. And this week they had a big meeting where they talked about what is happening and reassigned some people, and are kind of scrambling as they figure out what happens next. And this is just the latest example of a PlayStation studio failing to come up with a live service game, in large part because PlayStation has spent the last few years trying to fit their single player focused studios into multiplayer games to very little success. So let's start from the beginning, and I'm going to tell you the story of PlayStation's failed live service initiative. We won't go way to the beginning, but let's go to the PS4 era, shall we? The PlayStation 4 comes out in 2013. It's fairly successful.
This is the timeline. We're going through it in chronological order. This is the beginning of live service for PlayStation and their struggles.
Right out the gate, becomes one of the fastest selling consoles. I believe the fastest selling console, despite the kind of sentiment in the air that came from analysts and pundits around the time that consoles were dead because of mobile gaming. The PlayStation 4 came out and kind of proved everybody wrong. And then it really did quite well over the next 7 years while it was the prime console on the market leading into the PS5. And it did quite well because Sony had this really cool, big stable of high quality exclusive games, many of which were nominated for Game of the Year or other awards, all of which got high critical acclaim and also commercial success. And that list includes Horizon Zero Dawn, which came out in 2017. It includes the God of War kind of reboot, which came out in 2018. It's almost like, let's call that its own new franchise, God of War reboot franchise. There was Spider-Man, which also came out in 2018, did extraordinarily well. There was Ghost of Tsushima, came out in 2020, did very well. We saw Uncharted 4 around that time. The Last of Us was technically a PS3 game, is where that franchise launched, but I would say the PS4 era is really where it took off, because that game came out in 2013, just a few months before the PS4, and so a lot of people wound up playing the PS4 version of it. And then, of course, the second game came out in 2020, towards the end of the PS4's lifespan. So we're talking about a generation that was just full of hits for Sony, and all of them were single player, narrative focused games. A lot of people made fun of some of the similarities, open world, sad dads, etc., etc. But that is what they that is what did quite well for them. But something interesting happened, which is that Sony decided to pivot, and I think there are a bunch of reasons for this. I made a video a few weeks ago called "Why Everybody is Chasing the Live Service Games," why everyone wants the live service dragon, why people are obsessed with why companies are obsessed with live service games. So go check that out if you're curious about why this happens. But at a certain point, Sony decided, hey, we are going to double down on live service. What is live service? Live service is essentially a game, usually online, but doesn't necessarily have to be online. But essentially, it is a game that is designed for recurring revenue. In other words, you put out the game, whether it's free to play or sold as a box product and you buy it, you put out the game and then it has some sort of recurring spend, some sort of monetization, some sort of microtransactions that are built in to get people to keep spending money on the game over time, over months, even years after it comes out. And this is
Us Destiny 2 players know exactly what live service is. We were there all along. We got to experience it. What's fascinating about Destiny in some ways, though, is that we got to experience that box product style with Destiny 1 and how it's kind of a time capsule in and of itself. And then we got to experience live service. We got to see both sides of the coin. And ironically, even in Death now, we have Project Sunrise, which is, kind of frozen in time in some ways. I mean, technically it's being added onto, so it's kind of changing in some ways, but for the most part, it's basically everything that's there is there. Once the project is finalized, then we'll know what's possible from it. But we've seen it all as Destiny players. We've grown with the live service industry and watched it fall with Bungie.
They're designed in a way to support ongoing content, because the idea is we keep people playing and they will keep spending money on this thing. And there are all sorts of examples of live service games. There's the obvious big ones like the Fortnites and Robloxes of the world. Roblox is kind of a platform, so that's almost a different category. But let's say the Fortnites and, I don't know, the Minecrafts of the world. There's the kind of running online, almost MMO type live service games, World of Warcraft, Destiny. There's also games that are just kind of traditionally sold, but then have ongoing microtransactions like NBA 2K or even Helldivers 2, which we'll get into in a sec. So Sony went around and said, hey, we want to do this. We want to have, the quote was, we want to have at least a dozen live service games shipping by, I believe they said it, at the time, this was like 2020 or 2021, they said by 2025 or 2026, we want to have a dozen live service games out and running. This is because live service games make a lot of money when they're successful. Unfortunately, there's some downsides to this strategy. Live service games are very difficult.
Yeah, putting a number to it and saying we want to have 12 of them is really, I get what they're trying to do, diversify their portfolio, have different revenue streams coming in. So that way they can, be able to navigate through market turbulence and things like that. But the idea that they're just like, let's put a number on it, the exact number we want, kind of curses yourself a little bit in some ways, right? And I don't know that they have added 12. I mean, I feel like they've had way too many failures. When Sony said they wanted to add 12 live service games, did they fulfill that or did they fail in their efforts? Sony absolutely failed to hit its original 12 game target. In fact, the failure was substantial enough that Sony cut itself target in half. Gotcha. The idea was Sony had one major live service business, Destiny, and wanted to build 12, and they wanted Bungie to be the experts to help guide them, which is actually crazy when you think about it, right? How wild is it to hire Bungie to be your live service industry experts, and they kill the most prolific live service game of all time? Unbelievable. And even the revised plan didn't really happen. So they revised that original 12 plan, and then even that didn't happen. So the push that Sony actually got from their infamous 12 live service games agenda was Helldivers 2, Concord, MLB The Show, Gran Turismo, and then Destiny 2, right? So 2 of them aren't even live anymore, which is insane.
to make. They are expensive to make. They sometimes fail to resonate with players, and some of them do. Some of them players really enjoy, but a lot of them just fail to crack the market because it's a very oversaturated market, and you're fighting for this player base that probably already has their favorite live service games. And most importantly, it's really difficult for a studio that has kind of spent a decade building the know-how and pipelines and chemistry to make single player games. It is really hard to suddenly have them turn on a dime and make a multiplayer game, especially a multiplayer live service game that requires this just kind of stream of ongoing content. And that is the most difficult part of making these games, is that once you come out with them, you have to have this roadmap that is extremely intense and requires a lot of work and a lot of planning and a lot of time and a lot of money to map out future content to get people continuously engaged with your game, because it's a treadmill. Once you start it, it's launching isn't the end. Launching is the beginning. You have to keep players engaged. Otherwise, you are not seeing the returns that you want to with one of these live service games.
And that's why I've mentioned before that I think the live service stuff is going to be reserved for like the most iconic IP of that style, right? Like there's not going to be like 50 successful live service first person shooter games. They're just going to cannibalize each other, right? Especially as projects can grow more and more in size as technology gets more and more advanced. Like it might be, there might be fewer and fewer live service games as it gets further and further down the road, right? Uh, and I think that's just because there will only be like one IP that is just a world that you actually want to invest your time in. And for a lot of people, like so we talked about Destiny dying, like that really was Destiny, and we were kind of hoping Destiny would be the game that kind of broke through the average live service treadmill or the live service downturn. But like what World of Warcraft, for example, that game is going to go on forever and ever and ever for sure. CS:GO, I'm sure, right? A bunch of these games are going to last, but I don't think you can just start the premise that you're going to start this thing and turn it into a live service. I think that the live service should come only from the success of the concept, right? Like if you shared a concept of a game and everyone was like, this is the coolest idea ever, then I think live service makes sense, you know? Like I'll give you an example, like with Power World, right? Like Power World just made like $1 billion or something because their game took like 10 million to make and they just sold so much of it. It would make sense for them to go the live service route because then you would have new pals, right? Essentially Pokemon added to the game all the time. New raid bosses, you know, you could increase the level cap so that way people could grind up to higher levels, do more powerful things if you wanted to. You don't have to necessarily. Not everyone's a big fan of that. You know, it didn't work out too well in Destiny at times. You can just create you can create new maps, right? You can add extensions onto the existing map in Power World. Like that's all it is. And I think part of the issue even when Jason mentions this is that there's like the single player, the box product devs, and they have their ecosystem and their style and they're used to it. And then if you try to convert and transition them into live service, it's a big problem. But if you think about it, the live service, it's still the same IP, it's still the same story. It's just meant to have continuations and multiple chapters. And so it shouldn't be that big of a problem, even though it is, because just a lot of people are not transitioning well with it. And then secondly is that if you make it a problem, you're basically just like solidifying yourself as like a dinosaur in like an older style of video games that's going to die off. You know, like I'll try to give an example that I think makes sense. I don't think you see as many 2D games anymore, right? Like pretty much all the games are like 3D. When's the last time a 2D game popped off? Can anyone even remember that? I don't even know, man. I can't even. I'm trying to think the last time a 2D game popped off, right? Now imagine your whole identity as a game developer, as a game studio is we make the world's best 2D games and we're not good at making 3D games. We're not doing any of that. We're not wasting our time with that bullshit. You know, we don't need any of that. We're just making the 2D games. And that's fine, but you put a really low ceiling on yourself and you might just die altogether. Like I don't even know the last time I've seen a 2D game. I'm trying to think of one that did well, right? Like it's almost a silly concept even to bring up at this stage, but that's kind of what it feels like with these games that don't want to adjust and adapt to live service. And it's not that they have to become like greedy corporate assholes necessarily. It's just that the idea is you want to be working behind an IP that people love so much that they just want more of it, you know? It's kind of like you watch Lord of the Rings and you're like, this shit's awesome. I want more, you know? And sometimes they make some bad movies, right? When they do the sequels, sometimes the sequels aren't as good, or the prequels, right? Game of Thrones had a bad ending. Some of these prequel shows not hitting as well for me. Some pretty good though. Night of the Seven Kingdoms, that was pretty good. You know, like, but that's the point, right? Is that once the IP, once the universe is created and then the rules are defined, the goal is to, you know, write out as many fascinating stories as possible and keep people immersed in that world. Like that's they did it with Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, like we said, Harry Potter, you know, like that's just what you do, right? But if you write a story that's just shit, right? Like if you write a really bad story and then you're like, you know what? We're just going to make this thing live service and we're going to write 25 books of this bad story. No one's going to read books number 20, 22, 25. You know what I'm saying? They're just not going to read that. You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't happen. Indie games, we see the 2D like Slay the Spire, but not AAA games. Interesting. So once in a while, Hades 2, Slay the Spire. So there's a few of them, okay? There's a few 2D games. Hades 2 and Slay the Spire are mentioned, and Balatro, and it's indie studios that are making them. Got you. But notice that they're kind of the exception to the rule a little bit, right? And it's not that they shouldn't do that. Of course, if they like that and that's what they're passionate about, continue. Do your thing. But it's important to understand that like the consumer trends might have changed, right? Like there's probably a stage in time where people were mostly playing 2D games, you know, in the early eras. But as soon as we went like 3D and Unreal Engine entered the space, you know, that was like opening Pandora's box, right? Like as soon as we started doing that, we're like, all right, this is like the future now. We're doing as much 3D. Like if you were to look at a comparison of like the number of games that come out this year or even the last 10 years, 2D versus 3D, it's going to be like absurd, right? Is there any data that shows the number of 2D games that came out in comparison to 3D games in the last year or 10 years? I'm trying to do a comparison between the two. Steam tag aggregators show roughly 42,000 games tagged 2D versus 30,000 tagged 3D. Damn. Maybe the 2D game is way more advanced than I thought. Apparently we need to be playing Destiny 3 in 2D. I did not realize. I'm joking, of course, but you know, you get the point I'm trying to make.
So, needless to say, that initiative did not work out. I made a little list of just some of the live service games that we've seen. This might not be all of them. I think there are some that maybe the world doesn't quite know about yet, but just going through this list, I think tells you a lot about how things have gone. So I mentioned Horizon. So Guerrilla Games, they came out with Horizon Forbidden West in 2022. That was the sequel to Zero Dawn. And then rather than going on to a Horizon 3, most of the studio then went on to what would be called Horizon Hunter's Gathering, announced this year and now rebooted, as I reported today on Bloomberg. Again, check out the story in the show notes. Horizon 3, by the way, they have a small team, I believe, working on it. There's some people, I don't know how many or what the state of that is, but that is a game that is years away if it comes. There was the God of War live service game, which was an initiative done at Blue Point, the studio that was very well known for remastering and remaking old games. One of their biggest hits was Shadow of the Colossus, and then they made a Demon Soul remake in 2020 that came alongside the PS5 and was very well received. And after that, they went on to help Sony Santa Monica, the maker of God of War, with God of War Ragnarok, and spent a bunch of time working on that. And after the development of that game, they kicked off this project that was going to be an online multiplayer live service God of War game involving Atreus in some way. You would like descend into Hades as Atreus. I don't remember all the specifics or exactly how it would work, but essentially it was designed for many players. So I guess they could do their own kind of custom versions of Atreus or like aspects of Atreus. I'm not 100% sure how it would work, but that game did not pan out because again, you have this problem of the studio that is really, really good at one thing, remastering games, and doesn't have really a robust and experienced and it doesn't have a well-constructed design department, because what it was doing was making games. So it was really good at art and tech, but it never really built up a design department. It tried to do so over the years. But even that, I mean, building a design department and at the same time making one of these live service games is just playing everything on the hardest difficulty mode for very little reason and very little return. So that did not work out. They tried to pitch a bunch of things. Eventually they were shuttered earlier this year. Very sad story. I also reported on Bloomberg earlier this year that they had...
Just as a quick note, someone was saying they listed off Silksong and other 2D games. But notice this, though. This is a good point. That if we were to say right now, let's get a good poll in the chat going. If I were to say Destiny 3 comes out and we're going to make it a 2D game, how many people are like, hell yeah, dude, that's the shit, dude. That's what Destiny 3 needs. It needs to go back to being a 2D. Like, you notice it's not trending that way, right? No one's like advocating for going back to 2D, right? Like it is going in the other direction. Is the point I'm getting at. And the same thing is like with live service, right? Live service is the direction that the market is trending towards. Even if you like some 2D games, there's some good ones. Silksong was mentioned. That's a great game, right? But there's, that's not the direction that the market is trending, I would say, by and large, right? That's the main point I'm trying to get at, which is that live service, even if it is a treadmill, like that's the future when it comes to making consumer products in the video game space. And it's the future, especially if the game is, as a concept, is something that really solves a problem and something that people really wanted, like what we saw with Palworld. Not every game does that, though. Not every game solves a problem. Not every game is something that people are, dying to play. Marathon is probably the best example, even though I'm really not trying to throw Marathon under the bus again for the 50,000th time. But it is a good example. It's a good case study of a game that just clearly doesn't solve a problem in the same way that Palworld did, and didn't have that similar reception because of that. Because it's not something that Marathon, if it wasn't a damn live service game, no one would be roasting the Steam charts, if you think about it. Right? If it wasn't for that, Marathon was just a one-off game that you're meant to play, pay your $40 and that's it, then the whole Steam chart phenomenon would be done with. Imagine if D3 had as low a budget as Super Mario, dude. Yeah, that's something.
Tried to pitch the thing that everybody wanted from them. In fact, multiple times they tried to pitch the Bloodborne remake or remaster or whatever that would look like. Sony was interested. From Software said no. Sony could ultimately, if they wanted, put their foot down and say, yes, we want to do this, but ultimately I think they acquiesced to From Software's wishes on that one. Insomniac is Sony's most prolific studio, and they've somehow managed to dodge this curse by releasing several games, including Spider-Man 2 in 2023, big hit, and now Wolverine, which is coming next month, and we'll see how that does.
Wolverine is, I don't know if it's just Twitter trolls or something, but Wolverine has had a lot of trolling lately. I don't know if it's a good time for Wolverine to come out right now, but I've been seeing a lot of bad things online. Maybe my algorithm is just feeding me the negative and putting me down this cynical void, but God, I have not seen much good for Wolverine lately.
they're one of the studios that has actually avoided the curse of not releasing anything in the PS5 era. But even they took a live service initiative. They were visited by the Nick Fury of PlayStation, doing a Spider-Man multiplayer game. It didn't get very far, and they didn't spend a ton of resources on it. They didn't put a ton of money or time into it, which is why they have been able to release multiple games this generation. But still, they tried Spider-Man multiplayer. I think that sort of thing is always going to be hard to pull off any sort of kind of multiplayer superhero game, because if you play Spider-Man, you know that this is a game built around having a single superhero surrounded by thugs during combat, and translating that to multiplayer is very, very difficult. Naughty Dog, of course, spent a great deal of time and a ton of money, hundreds of millions, working on a Last of Us Online project that was kind of their it started off as a small thing and they wanted to make it a bigger thing, and eventually it turned into a service game, and then they canceled it in 2023 for a variety of reasons. The reason they stated is one that I think is worth noting here, which is they said, hey, essentially if we make this and then it's a success, we're going to have to keep doing it and dedicate all these resources to it and essentially become a live service studio, which is the other curse of live service. Once you release a live service game, you cannot move on to the next thing. And a lot of companies wind up getting trapped in the live service game and have to put aside or divert resources from their biggest projects. For example,
Why is this such a big like I get that you go down the live service treadmill and you're like, oh, now we now we're really gonna have to work. And there's got to be a way where you could like balance the work and life and still have a live service game, because no one ever talks about the positives, which is like job security. You're like, oh, I have a live service game, which is meant to be a game that continuously gets updates and gives me a job for this year, next year, 10 years from now. You know, a lot of the devs that worked at Bungie, they have crazy longevity working there because, like, man, I just got to work on this game for so long. Some of the voice actors that we heard at GCX were praising the project as well, because they're like, in voice acting, getting to do the same role for 15 years is insane. It's like very unheard of, because usually characters age out, right? Like they get older, they change or something, right? Like things change a lot with the voice acting. But the guy who voiced Aldrin and Crow was like, this was awesome. Dude. This was like the best, right? So it's like, it gives you some job security. I get that it's, I guess, like a treadmill, but there's got to be a way to balance it out, because the live service stuff, when it's done right, live service games are obviously the most fun, right? Like obviously when you like a certain style of game and there's just like constant updates and like new things coming out, it's really fun. Like that's what you want. Like no one ever played a game and was like, this game is so much fun, I can't wait to stop playing it, right? Like the whole point is like, this game is so much fun, and then while you're playing it, that you get an announcement that they're doing something new and they're adding a whole new fucking map to the game, or a whole new expansion or a new update. And you're like, oh my God, dude, it's getting better. You're telling me this game that I already like is getting better. They're adding more to it. It's like, you know, my lobster is too buttery, my steak is too juicy moment.
example, Epic Games. I don't know if you remember this, but in 2017, before they released Fortnite, Epic had a bunch of other games in the works. They used to be a company that made games all the time. Then they released Fortnite, kind of started off slowly, but then exploded once they added the Battle Royale mode to it at the end of 2017. And then shortly after that game just like skyrocketed in popularity and became a cultural phenomenon, they canceled their other games in order to put all of their resources on Fortnite. A similar thing happened at Blizzard.
RIP to Paragon, dude. Does anyone remember Paragon? They were working on that. I think they got rid of it. I don't know if they brought it back. Didn't Epic Games cancel Paragon to develop Fortnite? And did they ever bring it back? Yeah, they just shifted all the resources from their other game, Paragon, into Fortnite. This is what Bungie was trying to do. Can you imagine if Marathon had Arc Raider success and then Bungie was like, fuck Destiny, we're taking all the devs and we're throwing them on Marathon? Dude, that would be, I don't know if that would be better or worse. I feel like that might be worse. I feel like I would be so mad. I'd be like, really, guys? Really? It's almost like cosmic justice that Bungie tried to cook this thing up, and then it completely fell on their heads, you know? Like, guys, we're going to make this whole new thing. We're going to put devs from Destiny on this thing. And then once this thing blows up, we're going to, you know, rope you guys in over here. You guys are going to have jobs over here now. You're going to put on your Marathon hat, clock in over here. And then they launch Marathon, and it's just complete and utter failure. The whole fucking thing falls on its face. I think I would be, I don't know if I would be more salty. I'm not sure. I'm trying to picture what my emotions would be like in a world where Marathon launched and it was as successful as Arc Raiders, and Destiny 2 still shuts down and they all just become Marathon devs. What a crazy time that would be. Someone said, wasn't a subscription model considered for Destiny 2? I think they considered it for a little bit, but I don't know why they just didn't want to do it. It might have been smart if it's done right. The problem is you have to do it in a non-greedy way and in a way that kind of makes sense. The only way I ever saw a subscription model in Destiny 2 making sense is if you subscribed, you got access to all the content in the game. And if you've already bought all the content in the game, you get a free subscription for the first 2 years they do it or something. So the veteran players are like, hell yeah, we don't have to pay for shit for 2 years. And then new players or whatever, or anyone that didn't buy every expansion has to pay their little $7 subscription or whatever. I don't know. I don't even know if that would work. People would probably be mad no matter what. I think the subscription thing hasn't worked very well in gaming, if that makes sense. Has the subscription model ever been successful in any games, like ones that make you subscribe? Or is it usually like the free-to-play route is the meta stratagem for these video game businesses? World of Warcraft does it. Final Fantasy does it. $15 a month? God damn. But free to play is definitely the better strategy. Getting people in the door free is the way. That's why they went that route. I guarantee you, when they were thinking about the subscription or the free to play route, they weighed their options. And if they went the subscription route, it would lower the overall population. So their goal was to make a product that was so good and make it free. And it's kind of, you know, free to try, really. But the idea was to make the product free to get people in the door, because if they did get in the door, they would get addicted to Destiny. And it did work to some degree. I mean, a lot of you got addicted to Destiny and got your friends on it, right? And I say addicted lightly. I mean, it's not an addiction for everyone. It's just a passion for a lot of people. They just like the game, you know? But I think that was why they went that route. I'm sure at that point in time, that was a critical moment where they were deciding which one to do. And I think they made the better decision. I think that the free-to-play route is better than a subscription. But what do you think?
I wrote about this in my Blizzard book, Play Nice. But what happened was, when World of Warcraft came out in 2004 and it was super popular, exploded way bigger than anyone expected, they had to kind of temporarily pause the other projects they were working on and just divert everybody into the World of Warcraft machine, because they needed to keep that going. And they were caught off guard by how much work it would take to continuously update that game, because they had never done anything like it before. That's the danger of live service. So Last of Us Online, that game was canceled. A lot of people at Naughty Dog were working on that game. I think there's a belief out there that it was just kind of a side project while most people were working on Intergalactic. No, the opposite is true. Intergalactic did not have the majority of staff until after Last of Us Online was canceled, and then most people on the studio came over to work on Intergalactic. But many people in the studio, I would say the majority of the studio, was working on either Last of Us Online or the remasters, the remakes that they were doing throughout the 2020s, which is why we haven't seen a brand new game from them since 2020. Sony Bend. Sony Bend is the Oregon-based studio behind Days Gone, and they, after Days Gone, had all sorts of issues, lost leadership, were trying to get a sequel off the ground. That didn't happen. Eventually, they got to the point where they were working on this new IP that was also going to be a live service game, until that was canceled at the same time as Blue Points was in 2025. Right. Now Bend is working on something else. They have fortunately are surviving and have a chance to work on something else. I think we'll see that at some point in the next year or two. Hopefully it doesn't get canceled. Sony bought Bungie in 2022 for $3.6 billion. And they bought Bungie in part because Bungie was a live service expert, and Bungie at least portrayed itself as a live service expert, and they thought that that expertise could be translated not only within Bungie, but to their other projects. And as part of that acquisition, Bungie also had a whole bunch of other live service games in the works that Sony wanted to see come out in the subsequent years, in addition to, of course, Destiny 2, which is Bungie's big ongoing project. But for a variety of reasons that I will get into in a story down the road, most of those projects fell apart. I believe there were 5 or 6 different projects that were happening.
5 or 6 different projects they were cooking up. Pretty crazy. And that goes to show you why the price tag was so big. We talk about how Bungie was pulling 200 million a year. And so how did they get acquired for 3.6 billion? And if you think about it, if they're pulling 200 million with just Destiny, and you multiply that times, 5 more games on top of that, right? Just let's say 5 more games. That's, 1.2 billion a year. Theoretically, if they're as successful as Destiny, right? This is some real, lucky 10p math going on here. But the idea is, you want to have a few of these live service successful games because they just generate revenue so consistently. And it's just generally a better business model for businesses that want to continuously, make their investors happy, right? That's the goal more than anything, right? Like Sony's trying to be in business 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and it's just it's a safer bet if it works out. Obviously, it hasn't worked out though. Clearly the live service. The problem is you're trying to force these IPs into the live service machine, and you're not realizing that unless the IP is actually iconic and worthy of live service, then you're basically taking these IPs and you're actually forcing them into the fucking meat grinder, dude. And these things are just going to come out the other side and just be complete trash, and it's not going to work. And so I don't think there's going to be 1,000 live service games that are pulling in $1 billion a year. I don't think that's possible. I think that even with all the different styles of games we have, right? The first person and the third person and the multiplayer and the single player and the story games and the shooter games and and all the different RPG games and all these different categories, and then all the different amalgamations of the combinations of these categories, right? There's only going to be so many that land as the live service icons, and those games are going to succeed not just today. Like some of them are making millions of dollars all the time. Every year they're pulling in so much money, but just forever, forever those games will just exist and continue on. And I don't know if we'll ever see a big disruption to that. Maybe.
Some of them did come out. Destiny Rising, the mobile game, came out, was not quite what people hoped it would be. Marathon came out earlier this year
Rising.
to underwhelming sales, and to this day the player count has just gone down and down, unfortunately for Bungie. So that was not quite the live service success that they had hoped. And of course Destiny 2 itself was taken offline this year as Bungie
No, don't mention Guardian Town. Not Destiny 2. Leave it alone.
Laid off hundreds of staff alongside that. So that acquisition did not pay off the way that Sony helped it would. There are some others. There's Deviation, which was working on a shooter game. I'm not sure. I would take this back. I'm not 100% sure if this was a live service game. I don't remember. I've heard a little bit about it, but I don't remember if it was designed as a live service game. It had some multiplayer for sure. It was made by ex-Call of Duty people, but I don't remember if it was designed to be live service or something where like they would make it and then go on to a sequel right away. So I'm not sure if this belongs on this list, but there are a few others. I mean, Twisted Metal, that Fire Sprite was making, that was supposed to be a live service game before it was canceled in 2024. Fire Sprite then went on to work on Until Dawn 2, which is scheduled for next year. And then, of course, there are some games that came out. I mentioned Marathon, Concord. That's the big one, perhaps one of the biggest flops in video game history, from Firewalk Studios, which Sony not only bought, but put a whole lot of resources into hoping it would be a big thing. That game launched to such low demand that they pulled it from stores a couple weeks after it came out, and has now become a symbol for all things wrong with live service games. There was Helldivers 2, which was actually a big success from Arrowhead Studios. Perhaps ironically, Helldivers 2 is the only game on this list that was made by a studio that is not part of PlayStation Studios, which maybe says a lot that their one big live service, their biggest live service hit, was not actually part of the Sony Interactive Entertainment umbrella, but just kind of published and funded by them. You could make your own judgment on that one. MLB The Show, if you count that annual sports franchise, pretty successful live service in the sense that all these sports franchises are full of microtransactions and annualized, and they're just designed for ongoing recurring revenue. Maybe a couple others I'm forgetting. Feel free to comment if you think of any that I haven't listed here. A couple more still in the works, of course. Fair Games with the $, which has actually changed names, so I expect it'll look a little different next time we see it. From Haven. Haven is a studio in Canada, in Montreal. It was founded by Jade Raymond, a longtime video game executive who actually left the studio last year. That game has been through a lot. I believe it was, I don't know if rebooted is the right word, but certainly pivoted at some point recently, like last year or so. I suspect we'll see it in a different form at some point, unless it is canceled before then, which is very possible. That, if you don't remember, was announced a few years ago as kind of like this cooperative heist game where you're robbing rich people, and there's a $sign in the title.
Someone said nothing Bungie makes will be more iconic than Halo 3, referencing Marathon and Destiny. All that. Honestly, you're not wrong in that. I think that Bungie did peak with Halo 3. And not that it's been all downhill since then, because obviously still, I really enjoyed the Destiny franchise, of course. Put in an absolute deranged number of hours playing this thing. But yeah, in terms of their popularity, in terms of peak success, they were also like the most successful in a smaller pool of success, right? So it's like, I don't think you're ever going to see Halo 3 success again, maybe ever. You know, it's like when you look at maybe the Mount Rushmore of games that like were just so iconic, it's like Halo, Pokemon, Fortnite, Minecraft, you know, like those are definitely up there. Those are some pretty strong ones. There's a few others that could be mentioned in that talk too, but yeah, definitely. Oh, Reach was the end for them. I mean, Reach was the beginning of, the downfall of that franchise, Halo specifically.
Gummy Bears, which was a game that was in incubation at Bungie.
I want to know more about this.
Managed to save itself from the Bungie abattoir by going over to Sony.
It saved itself is a very bold claim, right? Because we still don't know what this game is going to turn into. So they may have separated from Bungie, but it's like that old expression. You can take the Bungie out of the gummy bears, but can you take the gummy bears out of the Bungie? Or maybe I got that backwards. You get what I'm saying though, right? We'll see what this Gummy Bears project turns into. The fact that it was conceived as a game concept by Bungie is potentially a curse at this stage right now, given the track record we're working with in these latter years. I don't know, man. I'm skeptical, right? I want to see a damn trailer on this. I want to see some gameplay of Gummy Bears. What is happening with this thing? This fabled, Bungie-esque project.
And a new studio within Sony called Team LFG, kind of spun out from Bungie in 2024, still in development. We'll see what happens with that one. That is a game that is, they describe it as a frog type game. Very curious to see what happens.
That's what people really want. Like I've been saying this every day. I'm just like, God, dude, when are we going to get more frog type games? My God, like ever since Frogger, like I was just sold. Like as soon as I played Frogger that first time, I was like, man, I really could we just make this a live service game? I played that and I was like, this is the real Destiny killer here. This frog game. Really, we're listening to the audience. This is good. I'm optimistic for the future of this now, more so than ever before.
There. And yeah, man, I mean, it's hard to argue that this live service initiative has been a success for Sony. On the flip side, to play devil's advocate a little bit, what would have happened if all of these games, all of these studios went on to release single player games? Would they have found success? I think fans would have been happier, certainly, to see, say, a Horizon 3 or a new Naughty Dog game that came out a couple years ago rather than maybe next year.
Or a Destiny 3, you know?
So I think for
Regress away from the live service and go back to the box product. This is the future. I don't know that that would actually work. I'm not sure what the future is for the Destiny IP, but it's definitely a fun thought experiment to theorize what a Destiny game would look like if it had sequels ingrained into its roadmap, right? Like imagine if they stuck to the original, which was meant to be Destiny 1, 2, 3, and 4. Like that was the first iteration. And then instead of creating the sequels, they decided to mix it up and go with the live service route. Sometimes I wonder what that would be like. We'd be playing Destiny 4 right now? Damn, that'd be crazy.
fans would have appreciated that, but the expenses for these games, the budgets of these games have grown so high, have grown exponentially from the kind of 20 to 50 million dollar range 15 years ago to the 200 to 500 million dollar range today, that I don't know how much commercial success Sony could actually find from a lot of these. So it's really it's hard to know how things would have turned out if they hadn't pursued this live service initiative. That said, I mean, it's this went about as poorly as it could have for Sony and PlayStation, and Horizon. Today's news is just yet another example of that in action. All right, folks, I will see you all next time.
All right, there it is. That was Jason Schreier giving a breakdown of PlayStation's live service initiative and how they've been struggling, right? The games industry as well is also having a bit of a downturn, but positionally, Sony was in a bad spot, right? They were doing the whole single player thing, and then they tried to do this live service push. Do they continue forward with live service even still? Or do they go back to single player? I don't know. It seems like they just don't have in their portfolio the necessary IPs for it, if that makes sense. I wish that it's funny we talk about this though, because they literally own the IP of Destiny, and you can't help but think that thing could make money if it could be developed properly with the right budgeting, you know? But who knows? Who knows what's gonna happen with that? It feels like such an easy answer too, right? You're like, oh, of course, Destiny 3. Like, you guys want to make a live service game so badly? You had Destiny 2 that did really well. Destiny 3 would be a pretty good opportunity, I think. I don't know though. I wish that was in the conversation, but unfortunately it's not. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below though. All right. That was a good one. That was a video that everyone was recommending to watch because it mentioned heavily Sony live service, Bungie, and everything. Someone said rich corporations got involved in games and now they're trying to pocket cash and not make good games anymore. It's like it's a combination of the both because at least Sony isn't some like new kid on the block necessarily. So I think the idea that they're just like all greed and like they don't have any sort of game integrity is maybe a bit too far, swings too hard. Because like they've obviously been around for a long time. It's not like they just pulled up 3 years ago, brought in billions of dollars to try and make money off the gamers necessarily. Like they've been a key player in the games industry, but as they've aged, they've gotten more corporate, and unfortunately, they feel like they've lost the plot. That's what it would seem like, largely. All right, so let's see what we got here. Destiny 2 is not dead yet. This is the video I need to watch. I need, you know what? Let me get one more huff of copium here. Yes, sir. It's not over until we say it's over. This video is trending in the category right now, so let's see what we're cooking up.
One of my favorite video games of all time is Destiny 2, developed and published by Bungie, the video game developer, who are currently owned by Sony and currently working on a different intellectual property. Now, Destiny 2 has been an absolute shooting star in the video game space, an absolute landmark in the history of gaming. And the reason for this, it is a multiplayer title that had a cinematic campaign, and a campaign that could only be experienced for the most part in the multiplayer setup. And while it is true that you are able to have solo runs of Destiny 2, some of the missions become particularly challenging because you do need to have someone else carry along with you, or they are balanced for at least a minimum of 3 players. Some of them, for example, some aspects of this video games like the dungeons and the raids can only be completed by a minimum of, it's the beauty, maximum of 12 players. Therefore, it has to be a collaborative effort. And this is the beauty and the wonder of Destiny 2. The fact that they were able to work out and make a multiplayer game, but one that was very cinematic. And what makes it so different from Call of Duty and Halo, usually those have their single player components, or rather the campaign, the cinematic campaign as we call them, and even Battlefield, separate to the multiplayer element. But with Bungie's Destiny 2, this was all concatenated into one, this one beautiful.
Destiny is a game for cultured gamers. Right? That's what it is. And even though you could browse r/Destiny the game or r/Destiny 2 and seemingly find no intelligent life anywhere, this is still a game designed for the cultured gamers. Okay, we have lore. We have Bife. We have, we're not just running around shooting our guns, starting up wars and, causing mayhem. There's more to the game. And I think that's the part that I like so much about Destiny, is that sort of cultured aspect to it. This guy, he's sitting down on a couch. He's got a nice button-up shirt. This is a Destiny player right here. I like this.
Assortment, this one beautiful broth of a video game, and I'm absolutely in love with it for it. As I recently started replaying Destiny 2, I only have it installed on my Xbox One X, and I was playing it in my office. I get bored sometimes, and yesterday, for example, I was just chilling in my office, and I thought, let me fire up Destiny 2, and the thing that immediately struck me was this rendition of Journey by Sky Lewin and Michael Salvatore, but is called officially the vocal variant, or at least the second vocal variant, where it's not the orchestra.
That's what I'm saying. We got good music. We're cultured. We got some iconic, beautiful music over here. Salvatore he's making hit classics.
And the Kronos Quartet, who are involved in the song, but it is humming. It is an actual choir, almost like a cappella version of that song, and it haunted me. Before the shutdown of Destiny 2, this was a battle cry. It was a battle song. Yes, there's quite a bit of pathos going into it, but there's also encouragement. There's also a rise inside of me that I want to go into battle, to fight the Witness, to fight alongside my comrade, to fight along Zavala, and all the other people involved in this wonderful universe that Bungie has created. But yesterday, as I switched on Destiny 2 and that humming, and by the way, this humming has been there from, I think, almost 6 or 7 years ago. I just never noticed it until yesterday. And the reason for this, unfortunately, it's not part of the official soundtrack, part of the official scores that you can find on the various distribution platforms out there, Apple Music and Spotify. I only heard it for the first time yesterday when I switched on Destiny, and I thought, wow, this is no longer a battle song, this is a dirge, because Destiny 2, if you aren't aware, is being shut down, or at least they're no longer going to be making content.
That's tough. The part I find fascinating about Destiny 2, and obviously this is coming from #1 deranged Destiny man with 25,000 hours played, but I think that we're going to look back on this game in 10, 20 years as it being ahead of its time. Like, as we push forward into, our ventures in future video game IPs, shooter games, live service games, you name it, we're gonna look back and theorize like, oh, what if we had a game that did this, and what if we had a game that did that, and then we explain all the little details of what would make a game more interesting than just like meathead Call of Duty run and gun people, And eventually, people are gonna theorize a game, and it's just gonna be Destiny 2, and they're like, oh yeah, someone made that game. They made that game, and it was awesome for like 10 years. Like, oh shit, wait, why did it die? It was ahead of its time. That's why. That's why Destiny died, in part. I mean, Bungie cooked it a little bit, but in terms of just a pure concept, regardless of what Bungie has done to develop the game, if you were just write down what this game is on paper and write down what Call of Duty is on paper, I genuinely think that this game is significantly more compelling and intriguing than Call of Duty. But I die on that hill, and I played a ton of Call of Duty as well. To be fair, I was like 10th prestige on multiple games.
Content for it. And while there is a lot of sadness about this, a lot of people have been very upset about this. People made friends and they were playing for 10 years. Unfortunately, every good thing has to come to an end. And even from a fiscal perspective, unfortunately, Destiny 2 is no longer as profitable as it once was. And even from a storytelling perspective and artistically, you cannot tell the same story over a period of 10 years. Sooner or later, you run out of ideas, you run out of creativity, and you need a fresh infusion of new ideas. Or even people who, by the way, and not to celebrate about people losing their jobs, Bungie has fired quite a few people, unfortunately. And the studio has been downsized, and the few who are remaining have had their attention rediverted to Marathon, which is their current outing. But the thing is, unfortunately, even as an artist, sometimes you get tired of doing things in the same mold. And while, yes, there is artistry behind it, it's also a job. It's like doing the same job for the past 10 years. Sooner or later, you get to a point where you feel, I honestly have to move on. But that doesn't mean that as players and as gamers, we have to move on from the beauty and the art of Destiny 2. When I was playing the final shape yesterday, and this is my second playthrough, by the way, when I was doing that opening mission, the opening campaign, the one thing that struck me, apart from the environmental storytelling, was the artistic direction, the artistic design. Now, in the final campaign, they took various aspects of previous expansions from the Witch Queen, of the very first time they launched Destiny 2017, of the DMZ, I believe, the European, I don't know if it's a demilitarized zone or whatever it is, from 2017 when they first launched this title and introduced it.
He confused with the DMZ. He's playing too much Division.
To the world, various aspects, they sort of put them together and given it a purple coat of paint. But even as you're playing this and carried by that brilliant and wonderful gameplay that is Destiny 2's gunplay, properly brilliant, and the very challenging platforming elements, I couldn't help but be in awe of this wonderful world that the developers of Destiny, Bungie, have created. And even on top of that, it's my first time playing it in English. The voice acting, I've celebrated the voice acting in French before, and it's properly brilliant in that regard. But the voice acting in English, featuring talents of the late Lance Reddick and later on Keith Richards, who replaced him when he passed on a few years ago. May God rest his soul, and all the best to his family, by the way. It was really, 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 really sad. And all the other voice actors and actresses involved in this, properly brilliant work. And to me, what Destiny 2 feels like, even now playing it in retrospect, it feels like this construction site where everyone came to work with the same vision of building this great edifice, this great monument to gaming. But everyone knew what they were doing. Everyone was locked in. Everyone was dialed in. One of the greatest aspects of Destiny 2 is the music. This is arguably some of the best music of the past 2 decades, maybe in perhaps the past century. Not purely in entertainment, not purely in video games, but simply as part of humanity's great cultural heritage. The work
That's what I'm saying. The greatest music ever. I'm gonna cry. It's got me sad. I'm gonna pull out the soundtrack in a moment here, dude. We're gonna start blasting Salvatore while we cry in the shower and punch the wall.
Rotemorv by Sky Lewin, by Michael Salvatore, by I forget his surname, and the other people who've composed the music. Matthew O'Donnell, I believe, even, who was formerly of Bungie, from years ago. The music that these people have put together, it marries well into the visuals of this. And it seemed to me as I was playing yesterday that the composers understood the story. They were telling us the interpretation of the themes and the thematic complexity of this title via their music. No wonder that even every morning after my morning run, when I'm getting ready for work, I work from home, I do play Destiny 2's original video game soundtrack. I play Journey, I play Lost Light, from the Allia expansions before everything became sprawling. Now, even as Destiny 2 is shutting down, This is a proper video game and absolutely worth playing. Now, they have now simplified the onboarding experience if you've never played it. It does have one default, unfortunately, and that's the fact that it's always online, and this will become a problem in future. Because unlike the Suicide Squad games, which Warner Brothers shut down, and I forget what it's called, the one where they have the 4 replacements for Batman, Arkham Family, I forget what they're calling it, forgive me for forgetting the name of that game. Gotham Knights, there we go, I remembered it. Those were ultimately reworked to having offline modes. I do think Sony needs to actually work with the developers here to ensure that this has an offline mode, even though the balancing may not be perfect, but simply because...
An offline mode for Destiny 2 would be kind of crazy. I know we're a long ways away from that, but offline means you would only be able to do PvE things solo. So you'd have to have some crazy, maybe even a sandbox balancing pass. Like, how are you going to solo these raids?
Owning this title is like owning like a picture from Mona Lisa or any other artwork that you like that you can just keep in your house. And every now and again, one, you have that brilliant gunplay and the brilliant gameplay, but because it's predominantly a player versus enemy experience, which makes it brilliant, you don't have to always be in online lobbies and mobs looking for people to shoot each other against. You can just always shoot against the enemy, just to always have a remembrance of what this landmark in gaming history has been for all of us. Now, again, this is not a perfect title. Some of the storytelling sort of spiraled out of control. And more than that, it did become repetitive, and you can see the decline in quality over the years. And while the final shape was a high, over at least the Renegades expansion, and the one that came after that, I've forgotten its name. I've got both of them, by the way. Not very good, if I'm being honest. I think the final shape was good, but I believe, obviously for me, that was my introduction to the Destiny universe proper. But I believe not as high.
Final Shape was his introduction to the Destiny universe? That's an insane starting point, dude. Imagine you pull up and you're like, all right, what's this game about? And just day one, you're fighting the Witness. I mean, honestly, yeah, that's not a bad experience, I guess, but it's crazy that that's the starting point.
As high a watermark as the previous expansions before that. I did like Shadowkeep a lot. In French, it's Bastion d'Ombre. Des Ombres, forgive me, the Bastion of Shadows, which is so good, man, so good. And the music there also properly brilliant, very creepy, very haunting. There were problems in that the enemies became repetitive. And you can see, obviously, that this was a title in decline. And yes, there's been a lot of sadness. I think, however, we can celebrate it for what it is and celebrate it for what we've already had. That this is something that was very unique, never been attempted before. I'm not sure if anyone will be able to repeat the success, not even Bungie themselves, of what Destiny 2 has been in the video game space. Nevertheless, just some quick thoughts. Oh, and by the way, I did put out a piece on this as I was really pondering this. And this is how you know that Destiny 2 is a great work of art. In that as I was playing it, I took out my iPad and I started taking notes. And because I wanted to put everything that I was feeling into writing and not to miss anything. And not just, by the way, for this video, it wasn't. I actually wrote a piece, which is rare. I usually don't write pieces about quote-unquote reviews. Usually it's about something philosophical or some general commentary about the video game industry. Do check out the website, vantagepointwithkelly.com. But nevertheless, I have written a piece on this, and I've entitled it A Shooting Star in Its Twilight, because Destiny 2, while it does have a higher player count than Marathon, sooner or later those servers will have to be shut down. And I believe if there's a time that you ever wanted to dive into Destiny, and not necessarily to play its entirety, to play maybe Shadowkeep, to play the Witch Queen expansion, to play the Final Shape expansion, properly brilliant. But if you've never experienced them and you're looking for something just to pass time, not too difficult. If you're just playing it in standard difficulty, legendary difficulty can be quite challenging. And it's not because the enemies become sponges, it's almost like they multiply and it's a little bit harder to kill them and they swarm you a lot harder. So the AI is very good in that. And I checked out, I just thought it was too much. And one other thing that I forgot to mention that I don't like it, because this is an always online game and it's meant to be a multiplayer experience, there are no save points. If you start like a significant campaign or a campaign element or story, you have to finish it. Now, the Final Shape, for example, I was like 10 minutes away from finishing that little mission that I was on, the introductory mission, but I had to go off and do something and come back. Now I have to again start that mission from the very beginning, which I really hate. Usually with the raids in the dungeon, sometimes you are able to save because you're playing with other people and to carry on, and because it could actually also go on for quite a few hours. But the story missions, I really hate the fact that there is no way of saving them. That literally when you switch off, you lose your progress, and you have to start from the very beginning until you finish that campaign, then you save your progress at the very end and at the beginning, which I don't like. Nevertheless, please do check out this piece that I've written for my website, A Shooting Star in Its Twilight, the brilliant of Destiny 2. Thank you so much for watching this episode of In Perspective. My name is Kelly, and I will catch you guys in the next one.
There it is. That was Destiny 2 is not dead yet. So if I had to give a synopsis of the video to some degree, it's, looking at the incredible stuff that Bungie has made in this game and kind of a call to anyone that wants to play it and enjoy it, play it now. Before the population declines to marathonian numbers. Play it now. Do play some Destiny while you because pretty soon here it'll be next to impossible to find some matches, I imagine. 2027 will be a rough year, let's just say. Great video from him though. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Baggers John 316 says repent to God. John 316, Christ is King. All right, hold up. Just let me repent to all the other gods real quick first, so I can cover all my bases. I'll get right on that though. What other videos do we got here? Well, you got to cover your bases, Try time. Just in case. You never know. You never know. I mean, hey, a guy typed it in on the comment section on an online chat forum, so it's got to be true. That's basically how I get all of my information. Just random people on the internet commenting it. So far, it's worked out pretty good. Be like Benny in the Mummy movie. What did he do? What did Benny in the Mummy movie do? All right. GTA 6 leaks, huh? Let's see here. Epidemic sounds. Get this music up. Someone has a fake GTA 6 you can download now? Cyber leak? Oh, no. Oh, good lord. Lightfall is the 5th Destiny 2 expansion. There was some controversy about something called the Veil. That's it. As a 12-year Destiny veteran, that's the breadth of your opinion on Lightfall? Aye. I actually got in Destiny 5 months ago, and it's probably the most complete game in my opinion. The fact that you can jump in and just do PvP missions or just explore alone is awesome. That's what I'm saying. They're going to look back at Destiny when 20 years from now, they're going to be like, damn, that game was way ahead of its time. What happened to that game? GTA 6 leaker shows they may have an actual game build. Oh no. Dude, these GTA 6 leaks are crazy. Someone said the guy is spelling leak on the wall with bullets, meaning he or someone else is actually playing a GTA 6 build live rather than just digging up existing footage. Nightmare scenario. What the hell? All right, we got to cover this. Rudar, thank you for the Prime sub and 78 months. You're too kind. Appreciate you, bud. We're going to cover the GTA 6 leaks. We're going to see what old Paul's cooking up here. GTA 6 leaks are on the menu now. We thought we wouldn't see this because they said that they were moving away from physical media in an effort to prevent leaks, but the test results determined that was a lie. We have massive leaks dropping basically every 10 minutes. The GTA 6 leaker actually has the game, if you don't know. Like, they're in the game showing that they have it. Like, they were shooting the words leak on a wall. The latest footage confirms the leaker has direct access to a playable build of GTA 6. So it's not like they just fished or found some footage and decided to upload it. Like, there's someone out there that's playing the game early. That's how crazy this is. Paul Tassi is covering the topic here, so let's see what he's cooking up.
All right, I'm back with a GTA 6 video. You may know what this is about, considering it is the biggest story of the week, probably by a mile, and it is not over. It is still ongoing. There is an enormous leak happening right now where a person named CyberLeaks, L-E-E-K, is leaking out a bunch of footage and other assets from a build of GTA 6. We think that it's from 2025 based on a Tate McRae song, Sports Car, that came out in 2025. So it's not earlier than that. I think we're up to 5 different leaks now.
Wow.
One was like literally like 2 hours ago, which I wrote about because it's the most important one. I am sure as shit not showing any of that here. Hopefully Rockstar doesn't.
Yeah, they'll get DMCA'd into oblivion if you show any of this. Every time I pull up some of the leaked videos on Twitter, it says like, this media has been taken down. This media has been, I can't even keep up with it fast enough because it gets taken down so fast.
Nuke me just for even talking about it, but I think they kind of have their hands full. They have been trying to DMCA strike every instance of this appearing online. It's impossible. They can't do it. This is spreading so fast and so quickly. Like, if you want to find it, it'll take you 2 seconds on Twitter or Instagram or TikTok or whatever you're on.
The problem is all the misdirection is hitting, so there's a lot of people making troll videos and fake videos, but we're going to find some of this footage. I mean, I can't watch it on the video, but we're going to find some of this and see what's cooking up over there.
And there's nothing they can really do at this point other than hopefully catch this person or stop them from releasing or whatever, but there are no signs that they are about to do that, given that these leaks are happening every, I don't know, let's say 6 to 10 hours. I think this is day 3. Of the leaks so far, there is a lot of just Jason doing sort of normal GTA things, driving around. I think there's one of him playing basketball at his house, and lots of normal GTA things like pulling a delivery driver out of a car and beating him to death with a wrench after whacking him on the ass roughly 37 times. There's another one where Jason has a hunting knife and he goes and kills a bunch of, I believe, homeless people under a bridge. So, you know, usual stuff there. There was a snippet of a cutscene posted, which seemed very purposeful. It was just a short scene about someone talking about using a VPN to hide behind, which seems more than a little coincidental. Today is the big one because while we may have suspected this before, it seems that this leaker has some sort of actual build of the game that they are playing, or the source does that is sending them footage. Same deal. The reason being is that in one of the clips today, they have Jason firing a gun, and he actually spells out leaks on the wall, Leek. And that would indicate that this is happening live because that is the guy's cyber name. And there's also a clip. People were like, oh, it's just a demo build. Like, he can't really go anywhere or do anything. The other clip there is him in an airplane flying around the map and showing us a huge view of all of Night City, which we've never seen before in gameplay. So that's not true.
That's crazy.
This idea that he has
This guy is about to get sued into oblivion, though, right? Like, surely Rockstar is going to hunt this man down. They're going to send Dog the Bounty Hunter after this guy.
an actual build of the game is where things get potentially really bad for Rockstar and Take-Two, and bad for fans, depending on how you're looking at all this. I don't think anything that's been released yet is that big of a deal in terms of what it actually contains. It's all pretty standard GTA stuff. The biggest reveals are like some minor systems things, like it appears, at least in this build, which could be a year-ish old, if not more, there is like a fuel meter for cars, meaning you will have to gas up potentially. There
That would be interesting. I feel like people will be kind of salty about that, right? Because you've played GTA where your cars just always had infinite gas. So the idea that you're going to have to stop and get gas, I mean, it's more realistic, but it's almost tedium that's added to the existing game, if that makes sense. I wonder if people are going to be mad about a feature like that. What do you think? If you've played GTA before, would you be happy about there being a gas meter in the cars that you pick up? A part of me says I like the realism of it. The other part is that some of my best memories playing GTA are just like, getting in the car and just like cruising for so long. And it would kind of suck if the car died. I guess in GTA, though, there's so many cars on the road that, like, if your car did die, you would just get out and steal another car. So it's not like the end of the world, really, right?
There's a weapon wheel with limited slots, which echoes Red Dead Redemption, and then you have to store extra stuff in the trunk of your car. There is a police system where they have your description and like your clothes and the make and model of your car. So I think an idea here is that it will be a little more complicated to escape the police than just running out of a little red circle.
Damn, they got the flock cameras in there already? Shit, this is moving fast.
And so some things like that have been revealed, but again, not really end of the world stuff. The problem becomes is if they do have a full build of the game, they can start potentially releasing things that are story spoilers, either in gameplay with dialogue or actual, cutscenes, because we know they've already had access to at least one cutscene, and we don't know how many more they might have, if not all of them. So people are kind of divided on this, where some people are viewing this guy as sort of like a anti-corporate superhero, where he's sticking it to Rockstar. He stated that his motivation for this is to hold Rockstar accountable for refusing to make digital copies. GTA 6 is
Refusing to make digital copies. He meant to say refusing to make physical copies.
only released on digital. You can buy a box copy. In that box is digital code. Everybody thinks this sucks. The game is $80. This only benefits Rockstar with a higher profit margin. It does nothing for consumers. That price is not going to be lower. It is harder to preserve games and feel like you have any type of ownership, even if most games these days require you to download shit anyway to play them. So people are celebrating that and like, screw Take-Two. It's very clear that this guy's motives are not altruistic in full here. Every clip he releases has stamps all over it advertising a crypto meme coin, and he's even running paid polls now on his site about what he should release next, where you have to pay money to him to vote on a poll. Probably would not give that information to someone who's broken into Rockstar or whatever happened here.
This is only going to be worse for him when the legality of it catches up, right? Like it's one thing to steal from the company and like use their IP. Like obviously it's gonna be bad for you, but when you're also benefiting from it monetarily, like yikes, this is gonna be a crazy legal case if he does get caught. I'm assuming he will though, right? Like in this day and age, I feel like everyone gets caught. Trying to think if anyone escapes or evades in this situation or in a scenario like this.
But, you know, they're trying to make money from this rather than just earn internet fame. The other aspect of this is people that don't think this is good. I would say probably most people, and I would say myself included. I don't care about Take-Two's bottom line. Not that I think this will impact sales in any way. But you know, I do think it sucks for Rockstar developers who are seeing their work thrown out early before you can be seen in context and cohesively. And I am very worried about the potential for story spoilers because, as someone who wants to play the game blind, I do not want to dodge story spoilers for the next 3 months, which will pretty much be impossible. Like, you can mute GTA 6 and all the terms you think you can mute if you're online in any capacity for any length of time, with any interest in video games in your algorithm, you are probably going to see story spoilers if they're revealed now over the next 3 months. This reminds me of what happened to The Last of Us Part 2. I don't think the whole build of the game wasn't leaked, but that pretty close to launch revealed a big spoilers for that game, that Joel died. That was like confirmed ahead of time. It was just kind of theorized before that. And then some other stuff in there. So that was kind of a big blow. This is, you know, a bigger game. This is supposed to be the biggest game launch of all time. It is a game that people have been waiting 13 years for. So for this to be happening at all, for a guy not just to be leaking footage like this, but to appear to actually be playing the game and having an actual build of the game somehow, is a very, very, very big deal. And we just don't know how far this is going to go and when this might end. The story's developing. I'm just trying to kind of catch you up here. I don't know. I think this kind of sucks. Like it's a fun like chase to cover, and like it's an exciting story because it's kind of some crazy shit. But in terms of like what this accomplishes, like what, you know, this isn't going to damage, you know, the earnings for this. I just think it kind of sucks for the devs. I think it kind of sucks for the audience who are trying not to know all that much about the game. You know, I obviously agree with the it being all digital sucks thing, but I'm hardly viewing this guy as, you know, some sort of freedom fighter with all of.
This is the vigilante, not that we wanted, but the one that we needed to convince Sony to revert their plans to get rid of the physical media. I don't think this actually accomplishes that in any ways. I think that that's kind of a shield that they're using to make himself into maybe a martyr in some ways, because he's probably going to get caught, right? And he will be famous for this, but you know, he wants to do it in a way that makes him infamous. That's the way I read it, at least.
This attached to him trying to make money out of crypto and people to pay him on his website and stuff. So yeah, so that is where we currently are. You know, this is like, we're going on 72 hours now, and there appear to be no slowdowns. A lot of like fake accounts from this guy are popping up, like any Twitter account. He literally put, "I am not on Twitter" as a watermark on one of his videos. I don't think he's on Discord. He's got like Telegram and a website. I think his website was briefly taken down.
Oh, this guy's deep off the grid, dude. He's got Telegram. They're never finding him. You're cooked now, Rockstar. He's got Telegram.
In any case, these leaks are still being released periodically, and we'll see what happens next. I don't believe things.
Rockstar about to put a bounty on this guy's head. $50,000, and you get to play GTA 6 a week early if you identify this guy. What's about to happen here? Yeah.
Are over. I know Rockstar and Take-Two are absolutely losing their minds trying to track this guy down and building up a legal and, you know, law enforcement army to try and figure this out. We don't know for sure.
They should turn it into something funny, though. Could you imagine if they did an IRL event with this where they They just attribute to him and his leaks. You know, every day he leaks, he like increases his star reputation, and the bounty to catch him goes higher. You know, like right now he's at like maybe 2, 3 stars, but it could get worse, right? Like it could get way worse. He could be 4 stars, maybe even 5 stars, right? And the bounty to identify who this is and get him caught goes up. What an incredible time that would be. We should own it, honestly. Instead of running away from it, embrace the chaos, right? You've created this game that's already the most chaotic, controversial game of all time. Might as well go all in with this situation, because this is absolutely insane, especially considering how much money has been invested into it, like billions of dollars, keeping this whole thing secret. And now the lid is blown off of it. It's wild.
What country this person is in. I'm assuming it's a guy, but who knows? There was an original thing that he's American, but that was based on a Twitter account that was fake. People are saying India, and someone paid a bunch of money for a bill to leak this, and nothing is confirmed on that front yet. So I'm sure this will come out eventually. Pretty sure this person will be in jail at some point, no matter how much crypto meme money they earn. But yep, I don't know. That's on them. Go nuts if that's what you wanna do for your life, and be hiding, I guess, digitally and or physically for the foreseeable future. So crazy story. You know, I may have expected some more leaks here. I did not expect someone appearing to be playing the actual game. Some are theorizing this could be someone who's previously laid off by Rockstar, or people upset with the working conditions there, something like that. But yeah, we just don't know yet. So anyway,
pretty crazy stuff. Let me know what you think about the GTA 6 leaks down in the comment section below. What a time. We'll keep you updated, so make sure you're subscribed. All right. Crazy stuff, huh? Let's bring this down. See what else is going on out here. Let's see what other news there is going on out here. Oh, that's right. We got a few things put in here. All right. Let me see if I miss anything. Good. Got all that. Just checking out what's going on out there. Got all of that covered. Big drama in the gaming world, especially for EA, as they have been acquired by the Saudis. And this might change the culture of their games going forward, or at least that's the way it's looking. This article reads, EA employees brace for the worst under Saudi ownership. Quote, hard to feel good about being bought out by a regime that's very much at odds with progressive society. It is kind of an odd mixture, isn't it? You're like, huh? You know, these guys, they got so much money. They've the infinite money glitch, though. Apparently, they just buy anything they want. They just casually buy EA for like $55 billion on a Wednesday. Will this change the future of EA games positively, negatively? We're about to find out. We're embarking on a whole new journey with this one. Despite assurances from management, some workers believe the company will be subject to censorship by its new owners. Interesting. Saudi Arabia's purchase of Electronic Arts, the biggest leveraged buyout in private equity history, officially closed earlier this month. With that deal done, a new game developer report has found that an awful lot of employees are expecting much more stringent control over what kinds of games they are and are not allowed to make. Which, if we're talking about the whole like ideology thing and integrating politics into games, I don't think that's really worked out for like any games at all. And I understand that, Saudi Arabia and their politics are a bit crazy at times and like kind of on the extreme side of conservative. But really the goal, and hopefully their goal, is to just like make money, right? Like they should have capitalistic ideas. You spend 55 billion, you would hope that your intent behind that is to make it back, right? To make the money back or to run the company in a way that's profitable. This isn't really new, strictly speaking. After the buyout was announced, current and former EA employees alike expressed concerns about a potential crackdown on some games, particularly those that are visibly diverse and inclusive, like The Sims. In what ways is the game The Sims visibly diverse and inclusive? And how exactly will EA's acquisition by Saudi Arabia potentially change that? So yeah, The Sims is one of EA's clearest examples of a game whose identity includes visibly diverse LGBTQ plus inclusion, which is why the Saudi acquisition has generated concern. The important distinction is that there is currently no evidence that the new owners have ordered The Sims to remove any of this. EA's acquisition by Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, alongside Silver Lake and Affinity Partners, hasn't announced anything like that yet. You can kind of imagine that it's down the pipeline, perhaps, but at least right now it's a slippery slope fallacy. Former BioWare lead writer Trick Weeks summed it up aptly, predicting that, quote, guns and football will be fine, but that gay stuff will likely be cut out. That's quite a way to put it. Despite EA's various efforts to reassure employees that its, quote, cultural values, a functionally empty term to begin with, will remain intact under Saudi ownership, game developer has found that doubts persist among employees. One current employee told the site that they believe the purchase was a way to distract from its, quote, regressive human rights record by, quote, co-opting an established and comparatively progressive company culture. Interesting. That's a known phenomenon called sports washing, and it's been raised multiple times previously with regards to EA and the buyout, in no small part because Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, Saudi Arabia's de facto ruler, and through his chairmanship of the country's public investment fund, EA's new boss has previously stated outright that he's happy to use it to achieve his goals. Interesting. He said, quote, if sports washing is going to increase my GDP by way of 1%, then I will continue doing sport washing. He told Fox News in 2023, quote, I don't care. Damn. Being a private company grants EA a certain freedom to do what it likes, but that doesn't mean the company will necessarily just embrace an anti-inclusive agenda. Instead, one employee predicted that, quote, projects just won't get signed because they don't align explicitly with what the Saudi Arabia governments want, or that EA won't even pitch them in the first place to avoid antagonizing its new owners. quite the crazy time. Do you think that this will be good though? Do you think this will be bad? I don't know, man. I feel like there's a lot of different perspectives, and as soon as you invoke politics, of course, the comments get pretty crazy. But I will say that from my perspective, when it comes to playing video games, I really like when the game itself is really focused on just making a really fun gameplay loop, giving people a really cool experience, trying to stay as far away from any sort of hot topics. They can be lots of things too. It doesn't have to be just politics. Religion is another topic that can kind of get thrown in there and be awkward, right? And, it can go both ways, whether you're talking liberal or conservative, can just be awkward, right? If you're just religion, politics, ethics, morality and stuff, those types of conversations, especially when it's done in a kind of preachy way, it's just a bit obnoxious, I think. I think that video games are way, way better when they're just left to be fun and crazy and wild. It's why a lot of people are looking forward to GTA 6, I think. I mean, not everyone, but a lot of people, just because they like the chaos and the craziness of the GTA franchise. Quote, it's certainly hard to feel good about being bought out by a regime that's very much at odds with progressive society, so it is surely detrimental to anyone who finds this buyout morally odious. One employee said, raising the point that Saudi Arabia's notoriously oppressive regime is in itself an issue for some employees. Another said that, quote, if EA had a culture that had any semblance of a moral backbone, it wouldn't get into bed with a prince who's disgusted by many of its current employees, sexualities, and ethnicities, adding that the presence of Jared Kushner through his Saudi-backed Affinity Partners investment firm just adds insult to injury. I mean, it does kind of say a lot about EA. Like, here's the thing, if you want to say that their culture is one thing and it's like morally upright or virtuous, right? Well, to sell it then to people that you supposedly despise or people that think extremely differently from you, kind of shows, where you stand at. Which is also, it kind of creates a weird implication for those that work at EA in the first place. It's kind of like, why are you working for them then? Like, if you're trying to stand on the business of morality and virtue and stuff, it's like, but you work for EA? Like, what? So it's such an interesting amalgamation of elements here. And I think there's just a lot of cognitive dissonance that's happening from maybe some of the employees that work there. And I can understand maybe where they're coming from, where it's like, this is quite the big shift, but you guys were working for EA. So you could kind of see it happening in some ways, right? The problem many employees are faced with is that moral objections sometimes have to take a backseat to the practicalities of survival. And the video game industry is in an extremely bad state right now. One employee said, quote, feel gross just thinking about it, but there's nowhere else to go. I'd love to leave, but the jobs aren't there and I have bills to pay. So like, yeah, I'd love to leave and not have to work for Saudi-owned EA, but, just got to pay the bills. They pay you pretty good, I imagine. We all know that game development is a very lucrative space to be in. The average Bungie salary was like 100,000, which is pretty damn good. And for that reason, people don't want to leave EA. But then you're also kind of implicating yourself morally in some ways, right? Like if you're like, I believe in this thing like this thing means so much to me, but you're not really willing to put your money where your mouth is in some ways. Although I do understand if you have a family though. So it's like, you got bills to pay, you got a family, you kind of got to do your thing. You got to take care of them. But that's kind of where it's like, I don't know, you're so upset about the values and the virtue of this company. It's such a weird predicament, right? It's like so intertwined in so many different elements. It's actually pretty fascinating. But if it really upsets you that much, if it really hurts your feelings that much, then I think you would just have to find work elsewhere, right? Like, seems odd to even have the conversation if it's that upsetting to you. Employees who own vested shares in EA will make a good dollar on them thanks to the PIF's premium buyout offer, which may help dull the moral sting. Yes, dulls the moral sting because you get that fat paycheck. But employees who don't hold shares, including many who are classified as, quote, temporary full-time, won't even get that. Damn. I think it's funny when there's like this element of like a lot of people having really strong morals on a given situation, but then their morals and their values can be bought and changed. For like, look, I believe in this thing, and this thing is really important to me, but you can buy my opinion and change it. You can change my opinion with money. In a way that reflects the broader state of EA as a whole, being owned by the ruler of a regime that continues to oppress women and members of the LGBTQ plus community, and who is credibly accused of ordering the murder and dismemberment of a journalist, Jamal Khashoggi, in 2018, is bad on its face, but the massive debt EA took on to finance the deal means massive layoffs seem almost inevitable, along with the cancellation of games that don't meet sufficiently lucrative financial targets. None of that has happened yet, but the mood among the rank and file certainly sounds grim. Can you imagine if they go in there? You imagine if they're like as ruthless as we envision them, like the actual caricature of these guys that were like the way we talk about them, right? To be fair, when you read about what the hell they're being accused of, I don't know if this is accurate. I think it's accurate about the killing of a journalist. A murder and dismemberment is kind of insane, though. God damn. Let me look this up real quick. Is there verifiable and credible evidence that the Saudis ordered the murder and dismemberment of the journalist Jamal Khashoggi in 2018? There is substantial credible evidence that the Saudi state was responsible for their murder. And there is particularly strong U.S. intelligence assessment implicating Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman personally. God damn. They caught his ass in 4K. That's rough, dude. That's rough. God damn. The strongest evidence, one, U.S. intelligence concluded that Mohammed bin Salman approved the operation. Damn. And a UN investigation independently found evidence implicating the Saudi state as well. So it was us and the UN. The killers were Saudi government operatives. Dude, that's crazy. Imagine they pull up and they go through the EA headquarters, or just tell everyone, you know, if you're a part of this, if you're part of the LGBT, you got to go. Like, can you imagine if that's like the outcome that they go with? What a crazy time. Quote, there was a time where execs engaged more and provided more earnest answers about the company, and it genuinely felt like they cared about us. One employee said, it was years ago, though. Now it's mostly just tired corporate bullshit. Crazy stuff, man. As if the gaming industry wasn't a wild enough space. This is just a ticking time bomb here. We'll keep you updated when we get more information on this story, so make sure you subscribe. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. There's surveillance of him going in and never leaving? Really? Damn. Of the journalists going into their... Is the surveillance of him going in somewhere and then never leaving? Pull this up. Yeah, there's surveillance showing that Khashoggi entered the Saudi consulate and there was no corresponding CCTV footage showing him leaving alive. But there's an important wrinkle. He entered the consulate in Istanbul at 1:14 p.m. on October 2nd, 2018. CCTV captured him entering. Turkish investigators examined surveillance around the building and reported that there was no footage showing Khashoggi exiting. The Saudi government initially claimed that he left through another exit, but investigators couldn't find surveillance supporting that claim. There was actually footage of a Saudi operative, Mustafa al-Madani, leaving through the back entrance wearing clothing resembling Khashoggi's. Investigators identified him as a suspected body double. Some of the consulate's own CCTV footage was reportedly removed, which further complicated the visual evidence. Dude, They're fucking tampering with evidence and shit. God damn, they look so guilty. God damn, that looks so unbelievably guilty. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, like, you know, you could say you didn't do it, but like, it's like you show up to the crime scene and there's like a guy with a knife in his hand and his hands are bloody, and you're like, he's like, I didn't do it. It wasn't me. Like, yeah, all right, buddy. Have you seen the documentary? No, I haven't. Is there a documentary on it? What is the most credible documentary on this topic that I could watch to further educate myself on this? Let's see what we got. We got, it's called The Dissident by Brian Fogel. Interesting. I'm going to watch this later tonight. Thank you, Bakken. I'm going to watch it. That's fire. That's crazy. What a crazy story. It's crazy because it's like real drama. It's not like a fake narrative. It's not fiction. It's like a real thing that happened. And the implications of this are crazy, especially if they tie into the Saudi leader and then ties into the ownership of EA now, and then the future cultural shift of this. Like, it's like it bleeds into gaming somehow, you know? Like, what? It's like kind of insane. I'm going to watch this later tonight, and I'll let you know what happens from it. All right, I guess I got some other stuff I got to watch too, so we're watching some jiu-jitsu stuff, but I got to head out for the night. Unfortunately, that's a wrap for me, and I'll see you back here tomorrow. We got more news to cover, more gaming news, so make sure you're subscribed, make sure you're following, turn notifications on. We'll keep you up to date on all things going on in the gaming world, and